your 20-year-old truck. It's more than just metal and wheels, it's your freedom. It's the vehicle that hauled your first load, survived your worst winters, and never once asked you to update its software. It's a machine built in an era when reliability meant something, when mechanics could fix problems with their hands, not a laptop. But what happens when the parts you need to keep it running suddenly disappear? Just last week, viewers flooded our comments. One said his 2005 Silverado Diesel's glow plug controller failed and neither he nor his mechanic could find a replacement anywhere. Not at the dealership, not online, not at a single parts counter in his states. Another wrote that a simple sensor for his 2000 Toyota 2.8 diesel no longer exists in the system. Not discontinued, not back-ordered, just gone, erased from the catalog like it never existed. The truth is, the parts you need are vanishing fast, and this isn't an accident. So here's the big question. Is the dealership trying to trap you, forcing you into a brand new, expensive truck? The answer is yes, but only if you don't know the secret hacks mechanics are using to keep these trucks alive for decades. Here's the harsh reality. Automakers are quietly pulling the plug on the parts that keep older trucks running. Glow plugs, ignition cylinders, even climate control modules. If it's analog, it's disappearing. And once these parts vanish from dealerships, they're gone. Sometimes forever. It's not just rare or exotic parts either. We're talking about basic components. Sensors that cost $20 to manufacture, controllers that any competent engineer could replicate, parts that have no business being discontinued. But they are, because keeping them available keeps you independent. And the industry doesn't want you independent. Take a look at this. A viewer named David couldn't find a glow plug controller for his 2005 Silverado diesel. Every supplier came up empty, dealerships shrugged. Online databases returned nothing. That truck sat in his driveway, perfectly repairable in every other way, but dead because of one small component that nobody would supply. Or Graham, whose 2000 Toyota 2.8 diesel needed a simple sensor, except the part number doesn't even exist in the system anymore. No cross-reference, no substitute listed, just a blank wall where the solution should be. The truth is, dealerships are tightening control, forcing owners into buying new trucks instead of repairing the ones they love. This isn't just about inconvenience. It's a calculated, deliberate digital lockdown designed to make you dependent on them. And it's not just engines under attack. Even your truck's cabin is being dismantled from the inside out. Ignition keys are being replaced with push-button fobs tied to proprietary chips. Climate controls are now locked inside digital modules that fail without warning and cost hundreds to replace with no aftermarket alternative. Old school trucks are being slowly bricked by a system that profits from your frustration. But here's the thing. The story doesn't end there. There's a way to fight back. A way to bypass the system entirely. That's exactly what we're diving into right now. So how do you fight back against the digital lockdown? It starts with the brain of your truck, the engine control module, or ECM. This is the computer that tells your engine when to fire, how much fuel to inject, and how to respond to every sensor signal coming in. When your factory ECM dies, dealerships expect you to give up, walk onto the showroom floor, and sign over your paycheck for a new truck. But smart mechanics have a better solution. The engine brain bypass. Instead of relying on an obsolete corporate-controlled factory computer that costs a fortune to replace and requires dealer-only programming, you install a standalone engine management system. These systems are built for exactly this situation. They're designed to run your engine completely independent of any factory software, any dealer network, and any proprietary lock. The benefits are immediate and significant. You can tune your own engine for your specific conditions, whether that's altitude, fuel quality, load, or temperature. You can read real-time sensor data directly from your laptop. You can replace only the components you actually need from the open aftermarket. Plug in, monitor performance, make adjustments yourself. You're no longer a passenger waiting for a dealer to fix your truck. You're the engineer who decides how it runs. It's more than just independence, it's empowerment. By bypassing the factory ECM, you reclaim total control over your engine, eliminate costly dealer downtime, and permanently remove yourself from the mercy of a parts counter that may not even have what you need. But the engine isn't the only battlefield. Removing the factory ECM opens up a new set of challenges. What happens to your transmission? What happens to your cabin electronics? What happens to your ignition security system? That's what we tackle next. Removing the factory ECM gives you control over your engine, but it comes with real challenges you need to plan for. Your automatic transmission might lose its communication link and default to limp mode, locking you into one gear. Digital ignition locks can leave you stranded in your own driveway. Cabin systems like climate control and power accessories can fail entirely when the factory control network goes dark. But with the right hacks, none of this is a deal breaker, not even close. First, let's talk about the transmission. Standalone transmission controllers exist specifically to solve this problem. These aftermarket units plug directly into your automatic and give you complete control over shift points, pressure, and timing. You can tune it yourself, adjust it for towing, dial it in for fuel economy, whatever you need. And for the true purists among you, the cleanest solution is a straight swap to a heavy-duty manual transmission. No electronics, no solenoids, no software, just gear oil and a clutch pedal. It's the single most reliable drivetrain upgrade you can make on an older truck. Next, ignition locks. Older trucks used physical keys, but factory microchip immobilizers were added in the 90s and early 2000s to prevent theft. The problem is, when the system fails or the chip dies, it prevents you from starting your own truck. Mechanics have a clever and surprisingly simple solution. You trace the ignition wires back to the immobilizer ring around the key cylinder, identify the resistor value that matches your key's chip, and solder a fixed resistor of that exact ohm value directly into the circuit. The security system reads the resistor and thinks the correct key is present. From there, you can run a simple toggle switch or push-button starter. Clean, simple, and completely under your control. Even your climate controls can be salvaged when the factory module dies. If the proprietary HVAC module fails, you can bypass it entirely using basic resistors and manual on-off switches wired directly to your blower motor and heater valve. You lose the automatic temperature display. You gain a system that will never leave you in the cold again because there's nothing left to fail. It may not be flashy, but it works. It's cheap, reliable, and infinitely repairable on the side of any road. With these transmission and cabin hacks in place, you're not just keeping your truck alive, you're rebuilding it into something smarter, tougher, and completely free from the digital cage the industry spent decades constructing around you. But sometimes, even the cleverest electronic hacks aren't enough. When the wiring harness is rotted through, when sensors are fully obsolete with no substitute, when the ECM is completely fried and no standalone replacement covers your application. That's when it's time to go nuclear. Enter the ultimate DIY solution, the carburetor swap. By replacing electronic fuel injection with a mechanical carburetor and a points-based or electronic distributor, your truck becomes completely and permanently independent of digital control. No sensors to fail, no microchips to lock you out. No software that needs updating, just raw analog reliability that any mechanic who learned their trade before 1990 can work on with basic hand tools. The carburetor doesn't care about software updates. It doesn't require a scan tool to diagnose. It runs on air, fuel, and mechanical precision. When it fails, you can rebuild it on your kitchen table for $30 and have it running again before lunch. For the true purists, mechanics go even further. Gut the modern engine entirely and drop in a pre-1986 small block Chevy or comparable pre-emissions mechanical engine. With pure mechanical fuel delivery and a mechanical spark advance, your truck runs entirely on fluid dynamics and engine vacuum. Every spark is timed by a distributor you can adjust with a wrench. Every drop of fuel is metered by a needle and jet you can change with a screwdriver. Physics controls your truck, not software. The principle is absolute total independence. When something fails, it's tangible. You can see it, feel it, and fix it on the side of the road with tools that fit in a small bag behind your seat. No scan tools. No dealer ports. No forced upgrades. Just your truck, your hands, and the knowledge you've built over years of keeping that machine alive. So here's the question for you. Would you gut your engine for total independence? Have you already done it? Comment below and tell us your boldest truck survival hack, because this community runs on that knowledge. Here's the truth. The industry doesn't want you to realize. They've underestimated us. They built a system of digital dependency, assuming that when the parts dried up and the software locked us out, we would surrender. Walk into the showroom, sign the papers, drive home in something we don't own and can't fix. They were wrong. Because we're not just consumers. We're engineers. We're fabricators. We're problem solvers who grew up learning that when something breaks, you figure it out. Every wiring hack shared in a forum. Every aftermarket modification that outlasts the factory part. Every clever workaround that costs $50 instead of $5,000. All of it proves that knowledge, skill, and determination still matter more than any corporate part strategy ever will. DIY independence isn't just about saving money, though it absolutely saves money. It's a mindset. It's the decision to stay in control of what you own, to keep your truck alive, not because a dealership allows it, but because you know how. And that knowledge compounds Every repair teaches you something. Every hack builds your capability. Every truck you keep running is a direct answer to an industry that bet you would give up. Now that you've seen how to take control of your truck, bypass dead electronics, reclaim old school reliability, and go fully mechanical if you have to, it's time to turn that knowledge into action. We want to hear from you. What's the most extreme modification you've done to keep an old truck running? Did you swap in a carburetor, wire your own ignition, install a standalone engine management system, drop in a pre-emissions engine? Comment below with exactly what you did and how it worked. Your experience could be exactly what someone else needs to save their truck this week. Your ingenuity could inspire the next generation of DIY mechanics who are just now figuring out that the system isn't on their side. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this: aftermarket parts, clever DIY fixes, a willingness to learn, and a refusal to accept that your truck is done just because a dealer says so. These are what keep classic trucks on the road for decades. Independence isn't given. It's not sold to you at a parts counter. It's built, one modification at a time, one solved problem at a time, one truck that refuses to die at a time. For small home repairs like repointing brick walls, patching stone garden walls, fixing crumbling chimney joints, or restoring historic masonry, this mortar is not just adequate. According to Dr. Zhang's research team, it is the most suitable restoration mortar for ancient masonry available today. It bonds better, breathes better, and lasts longer than any Portland cement-based patching product on the hardware store shelf. And if those shelves are lined with products costing $8 to $20 per small tub, know that the active chemistry inside most lime-based restoration mortars is fundamentally the same reaction that a pot of rice and a bag of lime achieves for a fraction of the price. Now, to be clear about the limitations, because this formula is not a wholesale replacement for every modern concrete application. Sticky rice mortar is a lime-based binder. It does not achieve the same rapid-setting compressive strength as Portland cement within the first month. For load-bearing structural applications like bridge supports, high-rise foundations, or heavily trafficked roadways, modern engineered concrete is still the appropriate material. Lime mortar cures slowly, and it needs air circulation to carbonate properly, which means it is not ideal for deep interior fills where carbon dioxide cannot penetrate. These are real constraints, and it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. But for the vast majority of residential masonry work, for the garden walls, brick facades, stone patios, walkways, chimneys, retaining walls, and decorative stonework that homeowners spend thousands of dollars repairing every single year, sticky rice lime mortar is not just competitive. It is superior. It flexes with temperature changes instead of cracking rigidly like cement-based products. It breathes, allowing moisture to pass through instead of trapping it inside the wall where it freezes and causes spalling. And it self-heals minor cracks over time as ongoing carbonation fills microscopic gaps that would become structural failures in Portland cement. These are not minor advantages. These are the exact failure modes that send homeowners back to the contractor year after year. The American Ceramic Society published an analysis describing sticky rice mortar as a functional ancestor to modern macro defect-free cements, noting that ancient builders were essentially performing wet chemistry and molecular self-assembly in their mixing troughs long before modern science had electron microscopes to witness the results. They called it a sophisticated intersection of biology, chemistry, and ceramic engineering. That is not a fringe blog post. That is the official journal of one of the oldest materials science organizations on the planet, openly admitting that a 1,500-year-old recipe from Chinese masons outclasses the logic of modern industrial cement in critical durability metrics. The city walls of Xi'an, built with sticky rice mortar, are still standing after more than 600 years of exposure to weather, warfare, and urban development. The city walls of Nanjing, same formula, same story. Pagodas, tombs, and fortifications scattered across southern China that were built with this mortar have survived earthquakes that leveled modern concrete buildings constructed around them in the 20th century. Let that comparison settle for a moment. A building material from the 14th century is outperforming products designed and manufactured with 21st century industrial technology, not in a lab, in the real world, in actual earthquakes, in actual floods across actual centuries. And the global cement industry, generating over $400 billion annually while pumping 1.47 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every single year, would very much prefer you never connect those dots. A material that gets stronger with time, costs almost nothing to produce, generates near zero emissions, and can be mixed by anyone with a kitchen stove and a hardware store. Lime bag does not fit inside a business model built on planned obsolescence and industrial scale manufacturing. The formula was never lost. It was documented in academic journals, preserved in construction records, confirmed by electron microscopy, and validated by one of the most respected chemistry publications in the world. It is sitting right there in the scientific literature, waiting for someone to read it out loud. Rice has been cultivated for over 10,000 years. Lime has been burned from limestone since the Neolithic era. The chemistry between them has not changed. It does not expire. It does not require a factory. It does not require a licensing agreement or a distribution network or a contractor with a ready-mix truck. And the structures it built are still standing, while the modern concrete poured last decade is already showing cracks. Your grandmother's garden wall does not need a $500 contractor visit and a bucket of Portland patch compound. It needs a pot of rice, a scoop of lime, and 20 minutes of your afternoon. The mortar holding the Great Wall together for over 6 centuries is the same chemistry you can replicate in your backyard this weekend. That is not an exaggeration. That is peer-reviewed, laboratory-confirmed, bulldozer-tested fact.